What's up, members of the barrio? It's John coming to you from the harbor next to Brookfield Place in the financial district. And so many of you out there are visiting New York City for the first time, and a lot of you run into very common issues. So today I'm going to give you all 15 common mistakes tourists make visiting New York City. Make sure to check out my other New York City playlists linked down below in the description for even more ideas, tips, and tricks for your next trip to the Big Apple. Here we go. A lot of people arrive in the area airports and they think that their best option is always to take a taxi or an Uber to their destination in the city. I'm here to say, don't be afraid to try public transportation, especially if you're traveling by yourself or maybe just two people. My friend Jacob Carlson did an amazing video about how to get from JFK Airport to Manhattan the cheapest possible way using the subway. But you can also do the same thing from Newark Airport in New Jersey. You can take a NJ Transit directly to Penn Station in Midtown Manhattan, and these options will save you a lot of money. Now, if you're a big group of people and you have a ton of luggage, taking an Uber or taxi may be your best bet, but don't be afraid to investigate taking public transportation as well. Not leaving the Manhattan bubble, and ironically I am filming this in Manhattan, but if you're a fan of this channel, you know we like to explore outside of the major tourist areas, and I would just hate it for somebody to visit New York City and only stay in that Midtown Manhattan bubble. You know, I know a lot of the attractions are there, but New York City has 5 boroughs. There are so many different things you can see all over the place. Step outside of that Manhattan bubble, go to Queens, go to Brooklyn, go to Arthur Avenue in the Bronx, check out Staten Island. Don't be afraid to explore, because New York City is so much more than just Manhattan. Guys, I have borrowed the beautiful Team Adriana to join me with the female perspective on this common tourist mistake: not wearing comfortable shoes. Guys, I have checked my apps before about how many miles I've walked on a given day in New York, and I live here. I've walked 6 miles, 8 miles. It gets pretty crazy when you're traveling and exploring nonstop. So for you men out there, highly recommend you pay close attention to what you're wearing on your feet. Bring only your most comfortable shoes, at least during the day. And from the female perspective, what would you tell the women out there?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of women trying to look really, really nice and fashionable in clothes in New York, because of course it's New York, you want to look nice in your pictures, but they don't realize how much they are gonna walk. And so I suggest to bring nice shoes but comfortable at the same time, because you're gonna walk a lot.
New York has so many super popular attractions, and you should definitely pick and choose which ones you visit. But I also want to encourage you to not just go to the most famous spots like the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, etc. Check out some different spots. We did a great video on this channel, for example, about the 5 best museums that you've never heard of. My personal favorite on that list was the Transit Museum. Awesome place, and so many people have never even heard of it. So don't just stick to the tried and true. Look for some different things in New York, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Not having enough cash, a pretty common problem. Oh, guys, look who has just bombed the video. Tal from the Traveling Clad.
What's up, guys?
He has done so many cool guides to New York City. Make sure to check out his channel, and he is going to be taking over for the next 2 common tourist mistakes. Tal, take it away.
So you were saying not having enough cash, and that is something that I've learned very fast here in New York City. You would think, because it's such a big and developing city, that you'd be able to pay with everything for card and everything with a card or with electronic payments, but that is not the truth whatsoever in New York City. Because New York City is such a condensed place, there are a lot of small businesses that charge you cash only up until a certain limit. So a lot of places have like a $10, $15, maybe even $20 minimum. This goes for bars, bodegas, convenience stores, all kinds of things, even fruit shops, vegetable shops, grocery stores. So you really want to make sure that you have cash on you at all times. I take like a weekly budget of at least $100 in cash. I would recommend that to a tourist as well. Have at least $100, maybe $200 in cash at all times. You never know when you're gonna need to use it. This also happens for emergency situations, but you always want to make sure that you have at least some bit of money in hand with you at all times, because it really is a place that uses cash pretty frequently. All right, our next thing not to do here in New York City is eating at chain restaurants. Now here's the deal, for a lot of people, I understand, coming to New York City, especially if it's your first time, if you're coming outside of the United States, you're coming here for the first time to America and you want to experience the fast food, and that involves eating an American McDonald's or Burger King or KFC, things like that that are popular American kind of fast food spots. But I will remind you that while that's okay to do, especially if it's your first time, New York City is the epicenter for international food in the United States. It is home to so many different cultures and cuisines all over the world that exist right here in this city. And there's so many amazing spots to try all this food. So I highly suggest, if you're coming here, especially if you're a foodie, try and kind of experience more of a diverse cuisine culture when you're here in New York City. Travel to the different parts of Queens, travel to the different parts of Brooklyn and Manhattan that offer you those crazy ethnic dishes from all over the world. You can get things like Tibetan, Malaysian, Chinese, anywhere from Mexico to Argentina to Venezuela. All that food exists right here. You can get everything you want, and especially if you travel to places like the Bronx and Queens, you'll be able to find street food of these different countries and nationalities, which is something that's pretty rare in American cities in general, just walking around being able to buy street food from street vendors. And the food is incredible. I can really tell you, as somebody who's traveled to a lot of different countries around the world, the food here in New York City really is on another level, especially for the United States.
Stay in your lane. Now, this describes moments where people are walking down the street and all of a sudden they need to stop to check directions on their phone or to look up at a building, and you'll have 3 or 4 people just bunching the sidewalk, and you're inconveniencing the other people walking behind you who are also visiting New York or live here. And let me tell you, there is nothing more annoying than seeing a little traffic jam congestion because a few people are just blocking traffic. So as my friend Evan, a native New Yorker, always likes to say, pull over, stay in your lane, and let other people walk by. If you need to adjust something, if you need to check a map, you'll make everybody's lives a lot easier. This isn't even just a common mistake in New York City. I have personally done this myself in my own travels around the world, trying to do too much in one day. New York City has so much going on. You could be busy from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every single day, but my fear is that you're gonna miss out on actually appreciating things, on actually enjoying your trip. If you have a schedule that is just chock full of activities non-stop, I recommend not planning out every single detail of your trip before you come. Leave some open space, leave some time just to relax in your hotel or your Airbnb. Trust me, you'll be much happier if you do that. There are a lot of common mistakes that tourists run into with the New York City subway system. One of them is whether or not to buy a 7-day unlimited card, which costs $33. It's an incredible value, but you have to make sure that you're actually going to be utilizing it enough. If you're going to be jumping all over New York between the boroughs, definitely get an unlimited card. But if there's going to be some days where you're just staying in a small area, not taking the subway, then I don't think that you should buy it. So definitely factor in where you're gonna go to decide if you need the unlimited card or not. Tip number 2 is whenever you're going to the subway, have your card out and ready to swipe it the second you get there, because you don't want to be standing right in front of a line and you're fumbling in your wallet and people are behind you getting angry. So always have the card ready. And the third thing I would say is make sure to download the app City Mapper. I actually had a few of you guys out there recommend it to me. I didn't even know about it. This thing gives you such a good route of New York City. It breaks down everything, where on the train you should board, what time a train's gonna come, even walking directions when you get off the train. So make sure if you come to New York that you have City Mapper installed on your phone, not Google Maps. And no, they did not sponsor this video. I am just that big a fan of that app. If you're a viewer from North America, you can skip this segment, but there is nothing that frustrates foreigners visiting the United States for the first time more than tipping. And it's actually something I've never really talked about on the channel before, so I'm going to address it for the first time here. And the reason that the tipping culture exists in North America is because many service workers make less than minimum wage and have to rely on tips to survive. I'm not saying it's the right way to do things, I'm not saying it's the wrong way to do things, but it's the way it's done here. So the biggest place that you're going to run into tipping is at a restaurant. And my rule of thumb here is that you take the pre-tax total and add 20% to that if the service is good as your tip. If the service isn't so good, you can leave 15%. If the service is absolutely awful, talk to the manager. There's a lot of other places that you will have to tip. Let's say if you like going out at night, at bars. I generally tip at least $1 per drink, $1 per beer that I order. If it's a cocktail, you may want to tip even more than that. Other spots, if you're taking a taxi, tip at least 10% of the total. If you're in a hotel and you have someone bring your bags to the room, tip minimum $1 per bag. Guys, this one might sound obvious, but check the weather before you go out in the city. The weather in New York is absolutely crazy. Today, for example, almost 60 degrees, but super windy. If I didn't check the weather, I would have went outside maybe in short sleeves. Tal, who's filming this right now, is wearing sandals and freezing right now. I repeat, Tal is absolutely freezing. There's spot showers all the time. I recommend you always have a little umbrella, especially if you're a lady and you have a purse. Just put a little umbrella in there so you're prepared for all of the eventualities. In the winter, it can be super cold. In the summer, it can be super humid. Just check the weather forecast before you step out, believe me. I know that it's a bucket list activity to say you went to a Broadway show on your first trip to New York City, but you don't have to spend a ton of money doing it. We've covered this before on the channel, but there's some great apps that you can use, like Today Tix or the TKTS app, and you don't even have to go to Broadway. There are so many talented performers in New York City. There's an overabundance of talented people here, off-Broadway, off-Broadway shows. You can save a lot of money going to them and still have an amazing experience watching world-class theater. There's always so many really cool events going on in New York City, and I think too many tourists just worry about hitting the main attractions. But why don't you download an app like Time Out New York and find out what festivals are going on, what shows are going on, what carnivals are going on, street fairs. There's always so many really neat things to do in New York that don't just involve going to the tourist sites, so make sure to check them out. One of the biggest expenses you may have coming to New York is hotel, is accommodation. I did a whole video which I highly recommend you watch about booking a cheaper stay in New York City, but you are gonna spend the most money coming here during peak seasons and staying in Midtown Manhattan at a big name hotel. Your best bet is don't be afraid to stay outside of that Midtown Manhattan bubble. Get an Airbnb in somebody's apartment in Queens, in Washington Heights, in Brooklyn. You'll save 50% or more, and you can put that money into actually doing things around New York. And shameless plug, if you want to get $40 off of your first Airbnb stay, make sure to use my referral code down in the description. This one's actually more challenging than you would think, finding a public restroom in New York City. Highly recommend you use the bathroom before you leave your hotel or Airbnb. And better yet, download the app Sit or Squat, which tells you the location of many, many public restrooms in New York. If you're in doubt, just about any bar, any restaurant, any hotel will have a bathroom inside. But just in case, use the bathroom before you leave. One bonus tip for you guys, courtesy of my friend Evan, who is a born and bred New Yorker. He told me if somebody asks him for directions and just gives an address, let's say 1500 Broadway, it's pretty tough for him to tell you where to go. Better yet, give a cross street like Bleecker and Broadway, and people that live here will have a much easier time telling you where to go. Guys, tell me down below in the comments if you've made any of these mistakes on your first trip to New York. I'm curious, and be sure to check out my other New York City playlists as well. Thank you so much for watching as always. Until next time.
What part of New York City will he show us next? Tune in on the next episode of Jonathan Barr in the Wild.
Jonathan Barrio.